Albuistown man nabbed with unlicensed firearm and ammunition during police intel-led operation. A police operation was conducted around midnight last night, midnight hours, in northeast La Penitence, where officers encountered Shaquille Cox, a 23-year-old welder from Albuistown. One of the detectives, identifying himself as a police officer in plain clothes, requested permission to search Cox. He agreed, and during the search, officers discovered a 9mm pistol with its serial number filed off, along with 3 rounds of 9mm ammunition in a black one-strap bag that Cox had in his possession. Additionally, the bag contained 3 payslips and 1 Western Union receipt, all in Cox's name. When asked if he held a firearm license, Cox responded, "No." He was informed of the offense committed, arrested, and cautioned, but he remained silent during further questioning. Cox was taken to the East La Penitence police station, where, in his presence, the firearm and ammunition were marked, placed in separate evidence bags, sealed, and lodged to be sent to the ballistics section for analysis. Investigations are ongoing. 2 Kitty residents nabbed by police with cocaine during operation. 2 individuals were arrested last night for possession of cocaine during a successful police cordon and search operation in Regional Division 4A. The police operation took place between 3:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m., targeting several homes for narcotics, stolen property, and wanted persons. During the course of the operation, police searched the following premises: the home of a 43-year-old businessman from Costello Housing Scheme, Georgetown; the home of a 22-year-old cashier from Curtis Street, Albuistown, Georgetown; the home of a 36-year-old unemployed female from James and Cooper Streets, Albuistown, Georgetown; the home of a 33-year-old wash bay attendant from Cummings Park, Sophia, Georgetown. No illegal items were found during the searches at the aforementioned locations. The officers then proceeded to Lot 67 Gordon Street, Kitty, where they made contact with Gavin Clark, a 50-year-old construction worker, and Ciuta Norville, a housewife, both residing at that address. A search of their home revealed a quantity of suspected cocaine. Clark was informed of the offense, arrested, and cautioned, at which point he admitted that the cocaine was his. Norville, however, denied any knowledge of it. The cocaine was weighed, totaling 33 grams, and was placed in an evidence bag, sealed, and marked in the suspect's presence. It was subsequently lodged at Kitty Police Station to be sent to the forensic laboratory for analysis. Both suspects are currently in custody, and investigations are ongoing. 3 detained by police along Lethem Trail for suspected kidnapping of man living with Down syndrome. Action News Guyana. Police have detained 2 females and 1 male suspected of kidnapping a man living with Down syndrome, who has been reported missing. The 2 females were featured in viral social media videos dressing the man in female attire and parading him in the Stabroek area. They were apprehended at a police checkpoint along the Lethem Trail, presumably heading toward the Brazil border. Action News Guyana had previously posted a missing person report for the young man, identified as Colin Blair, also known as Rat Man, from Pike Street, Sophia. Relatives and friends reported that he wandered off from home a few days ago, prompting their search for him. Bus conductor granted $50,000 bail for armed robbery. Kaider News, a 19-year-old minibus conductor was granted $50,000 bail on Friday after appearing at the Georgetown Magistrates Court to face 2 counts of armed robbery. Tyrion Corton, of Lot 965 Block F, North Sophia, Georgetown, appeared before Magistrate Annette Singh. He allegedly used a knife to rob Ron Barry of an iPhone 12 valued at $80,000 and $170,000 in cash, totaling $250,000. He is also accused of robbing Roland Chow of $160,000 in cash and a bag valued at $2,500. Both incidents occurred in the North Sophia area on December 2, 2024. Corton, represented by attorney Stacey Gooding, pleaded not guilty and was subsequently granted bail. Gooding informed the court that on the day of the incident, Barry and Chow had crashed into her client's car and attempted to flee the scene but were prevented from doing so by members of the community. She further explained that Corton left the accident scene to report the incident to the Kitty Traffic Department, where he was questioned by police. Meanwhile, Barry and Chow reported to the police station that they had been robbed of their car keys in Prashad Nagar but were unable to identify the alleged robber. Gooding revealed that Corton was initially placed on $50,000 station bail after being accused of stealing the car key. She alleged that police at the Kitty police station told her client, "If you can't pay the money, you will be charged." This led to the armed robbery charges being filed against him. The prosecution did not object to bail, and Magistrate Singh set Corton's bail at $25,000 for each of the two charges. The case has been adjourned to April 21, 2025. Sophia man sentenced to 6 months after escape from custody. Guyana Times. A 21-year-old man from B Field squatting area, Sophia, Greater Georgetown, was sentenced to 6 months in prison following a dramatic and chaotic court appearance at the Georgetown Magistrates Court on Friday. Brian Stevens, who was wanted for armed robbery, faced charges for escaping lawful custody while receiving treatment for gunshot wounds. According to police reports, on February 28, Stevens was involved in an altercation with another wanted man during an event, resulting in him being shot. He was rushed to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC, for medical attention. While receiving treatment, police recognized him as a wanted suspect and placed him under guard. Despite being watched by police, Stevens managed to escape on March 8 by requesting to use the washroom. When officers checked on him, he was gone. A search ensued, and he was later recaptured. During his court appearance, Stevens' behavior was marked by continuous interruptions, emotional outbursts, and confrontations with both the magistrate and police officers. He frequently raised his hand, spoke out of turn, and loudly protested his innocence. At one point, he pleaded with the magistrate for bail, stating, "Ma'am, I am the only breadwinner for my family. I am asking for a small bail." Initially, he pleaded not guilty to the charge of escaping lawful custody but later changed his plea to guilty. As the proceedings continued, Stevens grew increasingly agitated, waving his hands and speaking over the magistrate and police officers. He abruptly stood up and began removing his clothing in the courtroom, pulling down his pants and lifting his shirt to reveal bullet wounds on his thighs and body. "Ma'am, I got shot 3 times and robbed. The police shot me," he shouted as officers attempted to calm him down. Stevens also directed his anger towards the police, accusing an officer in the courtroom of killing someone he knew. His outbursts escalated as he alleged that officers had robbed and shot him before his arrest. When one officer denied these claims, Stevens interrupted again, asserting that he only escaped because his child's mother had called him, saying their child was sick and needed milk. "My child's mother is not working, and she called me to tell me my child was sick and had no milk. I had to go get money to buy milk for my child, so I left. But I turned myself back in," he claimed. However, police officers contradicted this account, stating that he did not voluntarily surrender but had to be recaptured. Due to Stevens' repeated involvement in violent incidents, Magistrate Singh commented that he seemed to frequently get shot. She decided to find a place to put him, for protection purposes, sentencing him to 6 months in prison. Upon hearing his sentence, Stevens smirked, shrugged, and responded defiantly, "No problem. I ain't frightened to go to jail. Y'all think you can sink me, I ain't got to get no lawyer. Watch, y'all know who I am a mastermind." As he was escorted out of the courtroom, his defiance transformed into violent threats, as he turned toward the officers involved in his case and threatened to kill them. Stevens remains under active investigation for the armed robbery case. Body of 59-year-old man found in Hope Trench identified. Kaider News. The body of a 59-year-old man was discovered on Friday morning in a trench near Plantation Hope, East Coast Demerara, ECD. The deceased has been identified as Balraj Madio. According to Madio's relatives, he had a history of alcohol abuse and suffered from seizures. His sister shared with Kaider News, "He was my brother. I know he had seizures and he did use alcohol. The sister, who resides overseas, expressed her grief, stating, I will miss him a lot. I was planning to go see him next year. Unfortunately, he is no longer here. I am his oldest sister. Meanwhile, Madio's cousin described his life as having been tough. Investigations are ongoing. Vendor granted $50,000 bail for wounding charge. Kaider News, a 28-year-old vendor was granted $50,000 bail on Friday after appearing at the Georgetown Magistrates Court to answer a charge of unlawful wounding. The case was heard before Magistrate Annette Singh. The vendor, Samuel Edwards, of 551D Field, Sophia, Georgetown, allegedly wounded Gavin Joseph on March 2, 2025, at Hatfield Street, Georgetown. Edwards pleaded not guilty after the charge was read to him and was subsequently placed on bail. Joseph informed the court that he sustained injuries to his side and hands as a result of the incident. The prosecution did not object to the granting of bail, and the matter was adjourned to April 25, 2025. Guyana seeks common ground with U.S. on Cuban health workers. Newsroom. During a press conference at his State House residence in Georgetown, President Irfan Ali addressed the recent decision by the United States to impose visa restrictions on officials allegedly involved in the export of Cuban workers. This announcement followed an emergency virtual meeting held by Caribbean leaders on Friday to discuss the matter. When asked about Guyana's position on the issue during an event on Saturday, President Ali emphasized that Guyana, in collaboration with CARICOM, is seeking clarity and dialogue with the U.S. He stated, I don't see abandoning Cuba as part of this equation, highlighting the importance of finding common ground. The restrictions were announced by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who claimed that Cuba profits significantly from what the U.S. describes as a forced labor program, particularly involving doctors and other healthcare workers. President Ali noted that Guyana employs foreign healthcare workers from various countries, including Nigeria, India, and Cuba. All of that follows the local laws and international labor laws, he assured. He further explained that Guyana has formally requested information from the U.S. to better understand its position. We have also asked, as a country, for any information that would help us comprehend the U.S. stance. If there are any breaches in relation to our system, we will endeavor to address those breaches in accordance with our local laws and international law, the president stated. The involvement of Cuban health workers varies across the Caribbean region, with some countries heavily reliant on them. However, President Ali asserted, what is clear is that the Cuban health workers are part of the regional healthcare system. He clarified that the current issue is not about Cuba as a country but rather the concerns raised by the U.S. regarding the Cuban health brigade system. The U.S. contends that, based on the information before them, they do not believe that the Cuban health brigade system follows international best practices and laws, President Ali explained. Moreover, he noted that the region is facing an additional challenge in healthcare recruitment. We are confronted with a challenge in recruiting our own healthcare workers due to the language requirements associated with the EU, UK, Canadian, and US healthcare systems. Caribbean nations, including Guyana, have maintained strong relations with Cuba and continue to advocate for improved US-Cuba relations. The relationship between the US and Cuba has been strained for decades, dating back to the Cuban Revolution in the 1950s. Labor Minister clarifies remarks on undocumented workers, apologizes for any misunderstanding. Newsroom. In a statement issued on Saturday, Minister of Labor Joseph Hamilton sought to clarify comments made at a recent community meeting in Haslington, East Coast Demerara. Hamilton aimed to provide clarity on the government of Guyana's stance regarding undocumented workers, emphasizing that the country's immigration and employment laws are essential for ensuring fairness, economic stability, and the protection of workers' rights. There is no ambiguity. Guyana is a sovereign nation underpinned by the rule of law. The laws governing immigration and employment are neither arbitrary nor negotiable, Hamilton stated, reinforcing that these laws are vital for the structured development of society. He added, The employment of undocumented individuals is not merely a legal infraction. It represents a deviation from the principles of accountability, justice, and due process that form the foundation of our national development agenda. While acknowledging the challenges businesses face in recruiting skilled workers and the labor shortages in certain sectors, Hamilton stressed that circumventing legal processes is not a solution. Operating outside of the regulatory framework erodes the very structures designed to uphold fairness and security in the workplace, he said. It creates an uneven competitive landscape where compliance becomes a disadvantage, undermining the integrity of our labor market. Hamilton also addressed the demand for skilled labor, noting that the rapid growth of Guyana's economy, particularly in sectors like oil and gas, construction, and manufacturing, has uncovered significant gaps in the workforce. These gaps are not due to a lack of willingness among Guyanese to work, but rather a need for advancements in education and vocational training, he explained. If we are to sustain our momentum as a nation, we must actively address these disparities. Since taking office in 2020, the government has committed to enhancing the nation's workforce through various educational and training initiatives. These initiatives include expanded access to technical and vocational training, the introduction of the Gold Scholarship Program, and the removal of tuition fees for government-run technical institutions and the University of Guyana. Hamilton highlighted that these measures are not merely symbolic but strategic investments aimed at preparing Guyanese workers for future challenges. Finally, Hamilton acknowledged the potential misinterpretation of his recent remarks, offering a sincere apology for any distress they may have caused. If my comments have caused unease or concern in any community, I apologize, as it was never my intent, he stated. Looking ahead, Hamilton reaffirmed the government's commitment to data-driven strategies for addressing workforce imbalances. He reiterated that policies would continue to be grounded in evidence and aimed at resolving the nation's labor challenges. Our government's priority remains the structured and lawful development of our labor force, ensuring meaningful and sustainable employment for all citizens, he concluded.